Green lantern ring, the most powerful ring on earth. I was doing some research on Google and find this ring is quite interesting. So we want to make this ring today. Hi, I'm PJ Chen, an authorized Rhino trainer. Let's get started. Before we start this tutorial, I want to leave a disclaimer here. This model tutorial video is for educational purpose only. The model built from this tutorial cannot be commercial or production use. I am using this model for teaching Rhino 3D commands and its application. Here are the commands that we are going to use in this tutorial. We're going to use the picture frame to bring in the image from the Google search, and then we'll trace over with the image. Then we'll use the control point if possible to edit any of the curve. After we've done all the curve, the building and editing, we'll use the curve network to create this ring. Once we are done with the ring, we're going to use the array tool to creating the pattern, and the rest of it will be boolean unit. If you go to Google search and type a green lantern logo, you will come up with those images. Just pick one that is clear and only have one color, and save. Let's say you want to save it, right click and save this image for us to trace over. Now that's back to Rhino. In the Rhino, let's go to the top view, and we want to type a picture frame. The Rhino will come up a window after you type the picture frame. We want to pick up the image that we save, and you can click anywhere and hold the shift key. So you will bring the image into the Rhino. Now let's try to align this. You can try to align, just eyeball it, or what I usually do is bringing a dot and select both of the dot and the picture. I'm going to use the align tool, which the last one is align centers, and then I will type it 0 to bring it into the center. It may not be super exact because the image may not be right in the middle of the graphic, but we can fix it later. So let's draw a first circle. I'm going to roughly get it close to the first circle, and notice that my circle and the image is not completely aligned. So I'm just gonna use the gumball to drag this one up to close to my center. Now let's draw another circle with the same center. I'm going to continue to draw 3 circles. All right, so that's starting with this bar here. We're gonna use the straight line to draw the first one, and we're going to draw as close to the shape as possible. Since this is gonna be symmetrical, so I'm just gonna mirror it to the other side with the center. Okay, again, since it's gonna be symmetrical, I'm going to mirror the top bar to the bottom bar. And don't worry about that, this is off, because the graphic or the image we bring in maybe is already off. Okay, now we no longer need this picture. We're going to delete it. Alright, so I'm gonna select everything and using the trim tool to trim any extra that I don't need. So we're gonna do some trimming here. Alright, so hit enter, and while they are selected, let's join it. Now we have this graphic on it. Let's go to the front view, and we can use the circle. Let's create a ring size. Like most of my tutorial, the radius will be 8. Alright, so let's bring this image up And if your image was too big or too small, this is the good point you scale it. I might want to have them a little bit bigger. Okay, so now I have the image. I need to have a wall, so let's go ahead to draw another circle. And so circle tool, line to the center, and then you can roughly kind of guessing, right now it's roughly over 1 millimeter. So I have this wall there. Now we finished the top part. That's starting from the bottom part. For the bottom of the ring shank, I'm going to use the second one on the arc tool, start and end point. I'm going to turn on the grid snap so I can snapping onto the grid, start, end, and the midpoint. Right now I want to turn the grid snap off so I can snap anywhere I want. I just want it to be slightly smaller. Okay, so we got this taper looking bottom of the ring shank. The next step, let's go to the curve. You have extended curve and from by arc to the point. So from this arc to the point, and make sure the quadrant on the bottom is on, so we can snap into the quadrant. Let's do it again. From the arc to the point. All right, so let's take a look on the perspective. So now we have this ring. On one direction, we already have the shape is done. We need to tell the rhino what kind of a shape that we want on the other direction. The way I will use to creating the curve is I will creating two tags here. First one, I'm going to snapping into the midpoint. And then let's look at the front view. I'm going to make a little tag right here. Just gonna turn the tag into the red color. All right, so you see that little tag that I put it there. I'm going to have another tag. This tag, it's going to be at the bottom of the ring shank, and then I'm going to draw to the right of the on the right view. So I'm gonna turn that into the red color as well. So what you see now is a red tag here, another red tag here. The command I'm going to use is to blend the curve. I'm going to blend from this little tag to this little tag here. And the reason I'm doing it is because I can get it really nice and puffy. So you won't see the kink on the edge. And then you will get this window and you just click OK. So that's how I get this one. Then we can use the arc tool again, starting from the quadrant to the quadrant, and we want to go near the curve we just draw. All right, so the arc, if you look at from the top view, you see we're coming to the other side. Imagine that if you have this one, once you finish one side and then you want to mirror to the other side, you kind of notice that it's really pointed right here, and it doesn't look good for a signet ring. So we want it to be really rounded. So the way we are going to do after we draw this arc, we're going to turn on the control point. And let's pick up all three on the top. And then let's use the scale tool, kind of bring them out a little bit. All right, so that will be a little bit rounded once we finish. Okay, so now we have this curve. In order to do the curve network, we need to make sure they are not touching on the bottom, so that can tell what direction they are. So let's use a split tool, and the cutting object will be this curve. So that's 1, 2, 3, 3 different curves. Now I have this is an open curve, but this is a closed curve. So we need to split the top circle by this curve and this curve. So now we have the curve ready for the curve network. Let's do curve under the surface. You will find curve network. We are picking up this curve, this curve, this curve as one direction, and also this curve and this curve is the other direction. So you can see a preview of what it's going to look like, and let's click OK. All right. All we need to do now is to mirror this half to the other side. All right, so let me turn it into the ghost view. So to turn it into the solid, we need to join both halves, and also using the cap command on it. So now this is a solid. Let's select all the curve on the top beside the one on the edge, and then we want to go to the solid and extrude planar curve straight. We want to have it go down about 1 millimeter, so I'm going to type it -1. So that will be our cutting tool. Let's go to the bowling tool and choose the bowling difference. So pick up the one that you want to keep, enter, and you pick up the rest for the cutting tool. So we will cut that off. And we're going to use the extrude command again by picking up this curve as inside of the ring shank. And let's go to the solid, extruded planar curve straight. And we want to make sure that both sides equal yes on the top, solid equal yes. And then we're gonna use the bowling difference again. So now we have this one here. To make it look nicer on the rendering, we would like to give a radius. So let's use the variable radius fillet. And 0.4, what I have here is might be okay. So let's take a look on 0.4. And they look fine. On the top, I do like to use chamfer tool. So variable radius chamfer command, and 0.1 for all the curve on the top. All right, so that way in the rendering it will look a little bit nicer. Okay, so now we finished this, and I do want to have a little groove there. So what I do is I will go to the front view and I will draw a straight line and have this line projected while I'm at the front view, projected to the ring. So now let me delete the original line, and then you will see I have this line there. Okay, with this line I'm going to just simply pipe it. And I will pick up this line and come into my right view to see how big I want it to have. And that will be our cutting tool to cut into the ring. So I'm gonna use the bowling difference. This is the one we want to keep. This is the cutting tool. So we'll have this here. And again, I want it to look nice on the rendering, so let's use the fillet tool. And this time I want it just something really small so it look good on the rendering. So I want to select all the edges here. All right, and we're gonna do the same thing on the top. Make sure you select all of them at once. All right, so the very last things we wanted to do is the texture here. So I'm going to draw another one, roughly somewhere to the edge of this circle, and that's the curve we are going to use as a reference. So I'm gonna draw the pattern simply just using a sphere, roughly about 1 millimeter. Okay, and then the pattern can be whichever that work for you. We can use the polar array or we can use the rectangular array. So here what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the rectangular array. So it's living under the transform. You have array, here is a rectangular, and then you pick up this object and hit enter. I wanted to have maybe 15 of them, and Y is 15 as well, and Z is just 1. So we just have one layer, okay? And then I can bring up this. If you have too many, that's okay. You can always, you know, delete the extra that you don't need. All right, so that looks all right to me. And once I finish, I can start deleting anything I feel like that's not needed over there. Okay, I want to select all of them and try to group them. And we are going to use align tool again. So make sure it's right in the middle of my form. Okay, now I'm going to ungroup those texture and just go ahead to delete anything that's not going to see inside of the circle. We are going to do the boolean after that. So anything is sticking out too much may stick it out too outside of my ring, and that's not really necessary. Okay, so now I have this. I'm going to join them again, and I'm going to move it back. I'm gonna use this circle as a guideline, and using the move tool, and make sure it's snapping into the center. And when I come back here, I want to make sure it's snapping into the center as well. So now we have the texture at the position. It may be too low, but that's all right. We can always using the gumbo and to move it up to where we need it. Okay, so once it is in the position, you can go ahead and boolean unit, so they will become one piece. Please leave a comment below. Let me know what you think about the video and what other things you would like to learn in the Rhino 3D software. I will do my best to make a video for you. Please also like and share my video. That help me to create more free tutorial video for you. Thank you for watching. I'll see you next Monday.